So in North America, manga's been fairly popular for the good part of the last 20 years, and a lot of formats exist. We got different sizes, different editions, lots of options, lots of great value, good prices. If you're in the shonen romance or isekai circles, because as soon as you want to break out of that, things are a little bit dire and your options are more limited. Today's example, Mobile Suit Gundam.
It's morphin' time!
Hello, this is Soundout here, and today we're talking about the fairly bleak situation of Mobile Suit Gundam manga in North America. And I want to say bleak because, you could probably say like, oh, there's 5 series currently in print, that's great. There's dozens of Gundam mangas every year in Japan. There's like 4 to 6 ongoing at a time, including backlog history going back to the 80s. There's a lot of Gundam manga that we don't have officially available in any format, and this is pretty much all we have at the moment. Now, Bandai Entertainment, when they had a manga division in the 2000s into the early 2010s, they did publish some stuff. Those are long out of print. Tokyo Pop stuff is long out of print. I'm only talking about what currently is available. Like, can you go buy these on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or whatnot? That's what we're talking about today. And it's just these 5 series and 1 upcoming series. And I also want to touch on the bleakness of variety as well, because if I was only going to pick 5 Gundam mangas to be in print at all times, these wouldn't be the 5. So we're going to go title by title, talk about each one, because basically outside of what you see in front of you, there are no secondary options except for one of these. And when it comes to other manga series, there's a lot of good choices. Like, it's not just single volumes or box sets. Dragon Ball, you can get it currently. You can get it in single volumes. You can get it in box sets. You can get it in 3-in-1s. You can get it in Viz-Big. And there's even some color editions of some of the arcs. That's an example. Sailor Moon pretty much exists in 2 formats of standard size and then these oversized Eternal editions. That's still a couple format options. So, yeah, I kind of want to talk about the Gundam situation. I think the best way to do it would be go title by title and then go from there to kind of talk about the situation as a whole. So let's get into it. If you enjoy this type of video, hit the like button, hit subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss out on future uploads, and hit the hype button if it's available to you. Let's begin. Let's start with one of the current wave of Gundam mangas. The first one we got was Gundam the Origin. Released by Kodansha US over 12 hardcover volumes between 2013 and 2015, Mobile Suit Gundam The Origin is the most easily available and in-print Gundam manga because you actually do get 2 options here. These original hardcovers are oversized manga hardcovers that collect about 2 volumes each, but there are deluxe edition hardcovers that are coming out now with what I would consider significantly less interesting cover art that are much larger size and contain, I believe, 2 hardcover volumes worth of material. So there are choices here. The deluxe editions do feature less bonus material, for those wondering, and they are about the same price as buying 2 hardcovers, so it's just dependent on what size format you want. For me, I bought these when they came out, or close to when they came out, and these are the versions I want to have. So what is Mobile Suit Gundam The Origin? Well, it is a retelling of the original Gundam series by Yoshikazu Yasuhiko, who worked on the original show. And it is a manga that basically starts at the beginning where the show begins, which is, of course, the whole recap of how the war began. There's the Zaku, and it goes into it. And as the manga progresses, there's some changes made as it goes along, but it is a pretty faithful telling of the original Gundam story. Now, significantly, it did do a deviation point, which is around volume 5 of the hardcovers. It starts doing flashbacks to times we never saw, the time before the war and before the series, and those flashbacks would be adapted into Gundam The Origin anime. The anime would never continue and do Yasuhiko's version of the Gundam anime, kind of redone in the style of this manga. This manga is it's a retelling, so it does make some changes, but it streamlines some stuff, and I think it's kind of what I would say is the definitive version of the original Gundam story. And these hardcover editions are very nice. What's really cool, too, is in the back, you not only have, also these have, like, the color pages, but they have, like, these essays in the back that talks about, like, Gundam and its impact and everything. And I think that's such a cool inclusion to have. These are awesome. I really love these editions. They're gorgeous. They're just a really, really nice edition of a very, very excellent a manga series. So, you know, whether you go with these or the deluxe edition, the actual contents are the same. The deluxes are just bigger. But this did do the entire series, which gets us all the way through 12. Now, the original Japanese run was 24 volumes, and these are, you know, recompiled, so it's 12 volumes covering those original 24. But it takes us all the way to the end of the original Gundam series, including new backstories and everything. And then, of course, all these have essays in the back. And I do believe some of these essays made it to the deluxe editions, but not all of them. So it depends on how much of a completionist you are as to which edition you want. But this is great. And the fact that these have stayed in print for this time, or, you know, even if they're not in print, they're still in stock. You can still get them relatively easily. I still see them in stock at Barnes & Noble. It's great because I think these editions are awesome. And they're a very nice collector piece for Gundam fans to have. So while Thunderbolt has now wrapped, Viz started in 2016 with Volume 1, and these were printed in Viz's Signature Series. And Viz's Signature Series are larger than your standard manga volumes. They're not like that much larger, but they are a bit larger. Paper quality is a little bit higher. Price is a little higher too. Back in 2016, it was $15. They are now $17. So that is something to keep in mind. But they have really nice editions. They've got color pages included, and they come with, of course, each volume that corresponds to the Japanese release. Now, Gundam Thunderbolt is a manga original story that takes place during the 1-Year War, where the original Gundam takes place and continues afterward, and starts getting into some crazy places by the later manga volumes. It was adapted into an anime that only covered about the first 6 volumes of the manga, and then they never continued it. So we have a partial adaptation of this, but this is otherwise a new story, and it's been pretty. It's a pretty wild ride. You know, we've got currently to Volume 24. Volume 25 comes out in March. I'm filming this in February, so I don't have it yet. But this, you know, has been continuing, and it's been getting crazier and zanier. They include all the color pages in these, which I think is really nice. So Chapter 200 has color pages, and it's really cool to kind of keep up with it as it comes out. It is, you know, about a year or so delayed from the Japanese release, so it's not quite, you know, keeping up with it, because by the time that we get the final volumes of Thunderbolt, it'll have been over in Japan for a long time. But hey, consistent spines minus the Viz logo change, and overall, not too bad. It is interesting. There's always been a matte finish to these covers, but they got like very textured now. I don't exactly know why that is. The one bummer with this is that there's still has 2 bummers. The 2 bummers with this. The first bummer is that for whatever reason, this is not on Viz's manga apps. Shonen Jump, of course, not a Shonen Jump title. It's not on the Viz manga app either, I believe. So you have to keep up with it only in print, which is kind of an accessibility issue, and also means that, yeah, we're kind of stuck waiting for the English printings to read the next part of the story. And then the other part of it is that they did not bring over the Thunderbolt Gaiden. The author of the Gundam Thunderbolt manga had to take a health break because he had injured his wrist, among other things. And during that time, there was a side story published, and we didn't get that. And we still haven't. Will we get it when the whole series is printed and they'll just do like a separate volume or 2 for that Gaiden? I don't know, but they did skip over a section of the story in the Gundam Thunderbolt world. So it's not like super tied into the main events. It was a complete side story, but it would have been nice to have seen since we were getting Gundam Thunderbolt otherwise. So after Kodansha finished Gundam the Origin, they published Mobile Suit Gundam Wing, Endless Waltz, Glory of the Losers. All 14 volumes came out between July 2017 and November 2019. And these were published at standard manga size. Now what's interesting is if you collect Shonen Jump manga, you're like, that's smaller. Yeah, that's because that's the size manga is in Japan. The shim size has changed over here. But yeah, Kodansha's vertical publishing label did these, and you can see they are a little bit smaller than what has been standard US size manga, but this is to match the Japanese manga. Now, Glory of the Losers is a adaptation of the Gundam Wing story. The way that this manga was designed, these have color pages, which is nice. The way this manga is designed is that it tells the story of the Gundam Wing TV series with different mobile suit designs, as well as some slight changes to make sure it would line up with the Endless Waltz OVA/movie that was done as a sequel to the series. So it was kind of make a more streamlined, all condensed version of the Gundam Wing story. and it goes across the 14 volumes here. So if you see, when we started, it was kind of like, here's the beginning stuff of the early parts of Gundam Wing, and then here we have, Gundam Wing 0, and then the idea is that this is all the way to the end of the series, but it doesn't actually adapt Endless Waltz, and that may be confusing for people because, yep, there is the ending to the TV series. Now, what they've done here is that it's like, okay, now you can go take this, where the wing, the Wing 0 has the angel wings and that kind of thing. Like, the upgraded mobile suits match how they look in the Gundam Wing Endless Waltz OVA, and so that way you can kind of go from this and go watch the OVA. So it's basically just a retelling of the Gundam Wing series in manga form with some mobile suit changes and some slight other changes and some neat little comedy bits. And then it rolls you into the Gundam Wing Endless Waltz OVA, a little bit cleaner than just coming from the TV show. So it's pretty nice, and at least we did get all 14 volumes over 2 years, which is not too bad. That's it's a lengthy enough series, and they did get everything out, which was nice to see overall. Announced for release in 2022, but then delayed till 2023 by Dimpa Publishing, is Mobile Suit Gundam Char's Counterattack Beltorchika's Children. So the first volume came out November 14th, 2023. The second volume, July 16th, 2024. The third volume, which I haven't picked up yet, December 17th, 2024. With Volume 4 now scheduled for September 22nd, 2026. Volume 5 for March 16th, 2027. And no dates for Volume 6 and 7 yet. I don't know what goes on at Denpa. I don't want to assume anything, but the release schedule went from, they had it kind of planned out. They had the first 5 volumes mapped out. I think it was like one every quarter, like one every 3 months, which, seemed to be good. And then the volume date started slipping and slipping and slipping and slipping and slipping. And as you can see, I haven't picked up Volume 3 because I was like, when is Volume 4 even coming out? Volume 4 has been pushed back so much that it is now coming out nearly 2 years after Volume 3. This has been a frustrating publishing experience as a collector and reader because this is a short series. It's 7 volumes, and it is kind of a bummer that it's taking this long because I didn't pick up Volume 3. I'm like, I'm not going to pick up 3 until 4 comes out because it just feels like 4 is never coming out. It's one of those situations that becomes frustrating as a reader because, by the time I get to that, I'm going to kind of forget what happened, except not really, because Char's Counterattack Beltorchika's Children is an adaptation of the novel version of Char's Counterattack. So Tomino wrote a novel that was his version of Char's Counterattack called Beltorchika's Children. A whole bunch of changes, a lot of differences. The main Gundams aren't the new Gundam, and the Sazabi, it's the High New Gundam and the Nightingale. And this is a manga adaptation of that novel. But it basically is the same basic story of Char's Counterattack. There is, of course, some changes in it, but it is essentially adapting that. This does have nice bonus features in the back, which includes some cool stuff. You got like essays as well as maps and mobile suit art. And these are done in a larger format. These are $13. You can see they are a bit bigger than standard like Viz manga size. And then here's Volume 2. Like I said, I haven't gotten Volume 3 because I don't know if I even should. The release schedule on this has made it kind of hard to collect. I do like that they did include like a color pullout here on the Nightingale with this volume. They do feel nice. They're nice quality releases. Just the release schedule's been kind of an issue to try to keep up with while reading and buying. Released between October 2024 and June 2025, Kodansha put out Mobile Suit Gundam The Origin, MSD Cucuruz Doan's Island, Volumes 1 through 5, being the entire series in hardcover. First, nitpick. This is the hardcover size, right? You think, oh, that's designed to go with the Origin hardcovers. No, it's actually much smaller, by like a lot. I don't know why this is. It was a choice they made that I don't agree with. Anyways, moving on. So, Gundam the Origin Cucuruz Doan's Island. What the heck is this? So, this was done by Junji Ono because Cucuruz Doan's Island is an infamous episode of the original Gundam series, which Yasuhiko, who was the animation director, said that the animation was so terrible, he was in the hospital due to overwork on the series. And he saw this episode and said, it's so horrible, I need to get out of this hospital and get back to directing the show. That's the legend. That's the story, the way it's told. And Yoshiyuki Tomino, original creator of Gundam, has banned the episode from being released outside Japan. Obviously, you can find it online. But when it came time to come back around to do a new version of the story, because I think everybody liked the story of Doan's Island, it was the animation that they had a problem with. Yasuhiko then later directed a Gundam the Origin Cucuruz Doan's Island movie that he was very happy with. But prior to that, there was this run from 2016 to 2019 of an Origin MSD story. So the way that this kind of works, and you can see there's even an interview with the guy that wrote the original episode script. The way this works is it's kind of an expansion on the Cucuruz Doan's Island story. And by expansion, I mean it doesn't actually do the Cucuruz Doan's Island story. This manga isn't actually about Cucuruz Doan, who's the main character of that episode. It's not really about the island. It doesn't even really adapt the episode. This is more of like a backstory expansion, and it kind of talks about like Doan's subordinates in the Zeon forces wondering what happened to him and where he is. It's not actually about Doan. But it is a unique story and something that's not told, and it doesn't get, it's not overwriting the movie, but it's kind of like meant to be a side story, and it's kind of a fun side story if you're into kind of the world building and lore around the 1 year war of Gundam. So it's pretty nice, and I was also really happy that Kodansha just published these like basically every other month and got the whole thing out in not that much time. So pretty impressed and pretty happy that we got to read this series. Now, the next Gundam series is going to get a manga release in North America. Yen Press will be publishing Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury, Vandus Heart, beginning in June 2026. Now, this is great for several reasons. First of all, Witch from Mercury was the next to most recent Gundam series. Before G-Quux, we had Witch from Mercury. It's an ongoing manga in Japan, so it's allowing people outside Japan to read it. But unfortunately, the manga in Japan is taking a long time to come out, so we don't exactly know what the schedule will be for the Vandus Heart English releases, but the fact that it's coming is nice, because I'm glad to see more Gundam manga being released. Because one of my problems is that a lot of the Gundam manga we get, if you heard what I was talking, aren't new stories. So let's talk about the problem, right? What do I mean by when I say things are bleak with Gundam manga? So let's talk about this broadly. Let's start with, all right, let's take away everything that is an adaptation of an anime story, right? What's an anime story that we've seen? Let's take away that. Okay, so that's obviously adapting Gundam Wing. That's a reinterpretation of the Char's Counterattack movie. That's a remake of the Gundam the Origin. And a anime was based off this, but that's actually new. And this is brand new, and it's not available in any other form. Yeah, so I just knocked out most of it, right? So let's talk about this, right? Gundam Thunderbolt is a unique manga story. It did have an anime adaptation for the first, I don't know, fifth of it. This thing is going to go like 26 volumes, and we only adapted like 6 of it into anime. The Doan's Island story, while may not be necessarily what a lot of people want, it is a brand new story that you can't get in any other format besides manga. That, I think, is great. Gundam the Origin is a fantastic manga series, a great war comic. It's a great story, but it is adapting the original Gundam anime. Char's Counterattack, Beltorchika's Children, is adapting that movie off of a novel, and Gundam Wing Endless Waltz Glory of the Losers is just adapting Gundam Wing into manga form. This is my issue. Vandus Heart is a nice thing coming up for Witch from Mercury because that's a new story we've never gotten before. But the fact that 3/5 of what's currently out are just adaptations of stories that existed means things are kind of dull. All right, next thought experiment. Let's remove everything that's not Universal Century. Oh, look, it's all Universal Century. All right, let's remove everything that doesn't take place during the 1 year war. Okay, same issue again. 3/5 of what we got take place in the same time period. Gundam Thunderbolt does go beyond it, but not that many years ahead. This is where I think this is where I come from when I say it's bleak, because there's no variety to what we get, right? Gundam Wing and the Witch from Mercury manga feel like outliers, right? Whereas everything else we get is Universal Century based, and specifically, most of it is 1 year war based. There's a lot of other stories in the Universal Century that people, I think, would be clamoring for, or at least would be worth releasing a first volume to see if people will put their money where their mouth is for something like Crossbone. People say they want Gundam Crossbone adapted in anime all the time. Give it a trial run with 1 volume of the manga. See if people actually mean it, that they want Crossbone. Give them the option. Gundam F90 has a whole expanded universe that takes place before the F91 movie. I really love that manga. I'd love to see an official release of that. And then going beyond that, there are manga for pretty much all the Gundam side series, the other alternate universe, Iron-Blooded Orphans, Double O. There's Seed manga. There was Seed manga that was published by Tokyopop that hasn't come back out again. There's a lot more to Gundam than just the first Gundam show and its timeline group. But also it's an issue at Sunrise because it seems like every time you get a Universal Century project outside of Hathaway, it seems to take place in the 1 year war timeline, like that Netflix series, it was CG, 1 year war timeline. They do a lot in that 1 year that's probably too much. And even if you wanted to stick with the Universal Century and stick with adaptations, there's other adaptations like Gundam 0083 Rebellion, which kind of like connects to Zeta better and adds extra stuff to connect it to like, 08 the mess team. So there's definitely other manga to get. If anyone's ever done a deep dive into Gundam manga, there are tons of them. There is a ton, and they're not all long-running series, right? Gundam the Origin being 24 volumes is actually one of the longest. Thunderbolt is one of the longest. But more of them are kind of like Doan's Island, where it's like 3 to 5 volumes. And so I'm kind of just wishing that we could get more. The manga situation is very interesting because a lot of big discussion goes on online, and people are always like, oh, manga's always outselling Western comics. Why is that? It's mostly because I think with Western comics, there is a ton of variety, and so not everything's going to hit a wide audience, right? Like, there's not going to be like a huge clamoring for a small indie title like there will be for something like Spider-Man. Whereas if you look at the manga landscape, pretty much everything is big hits. The majority of, like, you go to a Barnes & Noble, you'll see, like, Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer, One Piece, Naruto, Bleach, Dragon Ball, Sailor Moon is even a bigger name. And then we, get older mangas, very rare, like we got Devilman in hardcover, that was great. We're getting City Hunter and Cat's Eye, but are we going to get all of it? Who's to say? And then if you go into the cyberpunk manga, you get the first few volumes of Ghost in the Shell, and they've kind of been doing a little bit more there, but do you want any cyberpunk manga that's not Ghost in the Shell? Too bad, it's not an option. Do you want any mecha manga that's not Gundam? We can't even get Gundam manga. You think we're going to get anything that's not Gundam in the mecha genre? It's pretty much just, it's a lot of popular titles, and it's consistent sellers like romance and isekai, where people are fans of the genre. But that's what causes manga to get higher sales numbers in North America than Western comics, I think. It's a big factor is not only the affordability because the cost of manga volumes, but also the stuff is of a lot of really popular shows. Like a lot of popular animes cause people to want to read the mangas. And so it's a lot of popularity, and smaller titles or stuff that's less popular doesn't seem to get through at all. Which is kind of the same with Western comics, except where that, ends up splitting the market across because Western comics are published in English in North America primarily first. That's kind of what I think on that. Because as a Gundam fan, I obviously will pick up any Gundam manga they put out. And to date, as someone that's been a Gundam fan since 2013, these are the only options I've had, and I've got everything, and I'd like more because, the other reason I don't pick up the Char's Counterattack Volume 3 is because if they never finish this adaptation, I don't even know if I want to read it all because it's just Char's Counterattack again. There are changes, yes, but it's a story I've experienced before. The Gundam Wing manga was that. The Doan's Island manga was at least a unique story. Thunderbolt goes into crazy directions beyond the part that was adapted, and Gundam the Origin is my favorite definitive version of the original Gundam. So I like the adaptations, but I'd also like to see some new stories thrown in, because as it stands, it just feels a little repetitive and honestly kind of boring. But that's my thoughts on this. Let me know in the comments what you think. Keep it civil, keep it fun. I would love to see more Gundam manga published in English, and I'm showing up to support best I can on every release when it comes out, and I'm just hoping maybe when Viz finishes Thunderbolt, they'll pick up another manga. I don't know, but it'd just be really nice to see. But if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, hit subscribe and notification bell so you don't miss out on future uploads. If you'd like to continue conversation, you can join our Discord server in the link below. You can also join as a channel member, get perks like early access. Let's give some special shout-outs to our channel members. Special shout-out to all of our channel members, including Spin-54, Forever1000, MasterBen95, Super Shaddix Boom, Veloquence, Rogue Leader 2448, Mr. Smelly Potato, Alt Mode Archive, Alice James, and Taran Thomas. Thank you all for your support, viewers and channel members alike. If you so wish, I'm on social media on Blue Sky and Letterboxd at Soundout12. You can also find my wonderful graphic designer on social media and Discord at DarkClaw643, and you can find Hero Club at hero-club.com for comic reviews and more. And until next time, this is Soundout saying, here's to more Gundam manga in the future.